All right, everybody, welcome back. Let me just adjust my camera here a little bit. Okay, so today we are going to talk a little bit about back bends. And another word that we could use for back bends, sometimes you'll hear, we're going to focus on heart openers. Essentially, both of them do the same thing. The focus is just a little bit different. So if we start kind of thinking about the body and how it's designed, when a part of the body starts to get sore or tight, we want to start thinking about the opposite side of the body. And I think I talked about this a little last week with some of you. But if your lower back is hurting, it could be either tightness or weakness in the ab area. So for me, and today is a really good day for us to kind of be talking about the back, my lower back, my right side here at my SI joint, that little bony thing that sticks out of the back of your back, that is super sore on me today. But I'm sore, probably because I did something properly, but I'm also have a lot of back pain because my hip flexors are really tight. You may have tight hamstrings, which that causes your back to be tight as well. So think about the opposite side of your body, or above or below the muscle that's sore, and what might be, preventing you from feeling good in the space of your body based on what's going on the opposite side or above or below that muscle. So before we get into our practice today, a weakening of the abs can also cause lower back pain, as well as really tight, overworked abs. So we're going to begin in bridge pose today, restorative bridge. So you will want to have your block, and I've got mine handy right here. So just as a review, you've got 3 settings to your yoga block. You've got the low setting, that medium setting, and the high setting. When we're doing kind of restorative type practice or restorative poses, we will not use this high setting, at least for restorative bridge. So we're going to either have the medium or the low flat setting available for us. One other thing, you will not set your block up and then lay on top of it. You are going to hug your block like it's a baby and roll back, bring it along with you. So we'll go ahead and start our practice from here. So once you have your block in hand and lay back, you're going to bend your knees and walk your feet in kind of close. You don't have to be able to touch your heels. You might be able to, but that's not going to make or break the pose. What will make a difference is making sure that your knees are stacked above your ankles. And from here, I'm going to have my block on the medium setting. We're going to press into the heels, elevate the hips. That block will go under the sacral plate, and I've been kind of talking to you guys about where that is. For lack of better terminology, it is the space directly above your butt crack. So as much as I hate to say it that way, it really is the most accurate way to tell you where to find it. So if you go lower than that space, then you're on the coccyx or the tailbone area. If you go above it, you're on the low back, which is going to cause you more pain because your pelvis is, kind of pressed forward and you're arching your low back. So we want it in the correct position. This should feel good. Now, we're not going to be here for a long time, so if it doesn't feel totally comfortable for you, just know that we're not going to be here a much longer length of time. So once you're in your position, you're just going to go ahead and allow the arms to rest down by the sides of your body. We'll turn the palms up today, so we'll continue to open in the chest. And then just take a moment to check in. Close your eyes and start to kind of pedal your feet left to right. You're going to pull your toes up off the floor as you press both balls of feet and heels into the ground. And then you can kind of rock your feet in and out a little bit so you can just feel the entire surface of the bottom of your foot. By pulling the toes up, you're going to lift the inner arches of both feet away from the ground. So there should be a little space between that part of your foot and the mat. And then maintain all that. Just relax your toes back to the floor. So in this position, we're thinking about lengthening the abdominal muscles and the fronts of the hip flexors. These spaces get really tight from spending a lot of time sitting, right? And that's all we've been doing these last 6 months, basically. So we're going to take this opportunity to allow things to settle in and open. You'll take a nice big breath in, let the belly fill, let the chest rise, pause and hold that breath at the top of the throat. And then exhale back out from the throat, through your chest, down to the navel. Do that again. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. We'll do that again. Inhale, belly, chest, throat. Then exhale, 3, 2, 1. We're going to continue practicing that Dirga breathing. And just to remind you, Dirga just means 3-part breath. So that belly, chest, throat, that's sort of where we're watching the breath go. And that is going to be our pranayama or practice breath work for the whole week. All right, we're not going to stay here much longer. Press into your feet, elevate the hips, reach underneath your bod, grab that block, move it off to the side as you lower your hips back to the ground. Once your low back returns to the floor, we don't change a thing. You're letting your spine return back to neutral. And then from here, go ahead and just work your knees into the chest for a little squeeze here. Now, my lower back is really, really cranky. It hurts a lot on the right side. I haven't quite figured out what I've done. But we're just going to kind of massage into that space by drawing a few circles. So I'm going to make one circle clockwise and then the next circle counterclockwise. I'm just going to kind of keep alternating. We'll do this a couple more times. Go ahead and find some stillness. You're going to just take your hands to the backs of the legs. You're going to rock and roll a couple times, come all the way to sitting, and then flip yourself back over onto all fours. So anytime we're doing any back bending, we'll probably always do cat-cow. And honestly, I do cat-cow a lot in my classes because it's a really good way to warm the spine up. So we'll drop the belly, lift the crown of your head as well as the tail as you breathe in, and then you're going to make that Halloween cat back as you breathe it back out. We'll do 3 more times. Close your eyes. Inhale, lengthen your belly, lengthen your chest. Exhale, tuck your chin towards your heart and lengthen your back. 2 more. Just let your breath kind of rock and roll. And move it back into that angry cat. We'll just take 1 more. Now, when we think about back bends, this is a back bend, right? The spine is not straight and neutral. It is curved. Same with this. So we're going to start working the hips back towards your heels for child's pose, but we're not staying here. I may have done this stretch with some of you last week. So you'll take your right hand, you're going to slide it underneath your left armpit, palm face up, and then you're going to lower your head towards the floor. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do that. You may have to lift your hips away from your bottom and walk it out. We are opening in the upper back, so you're pushing into your right shoulder and your left hand to push and twist you open towards that left side. Good. Breathe in and breathe back out. Take 1 more and release. Go ahead and let your hips settle back in as you remove that right arm out. And then we'll repeat it on the other side. So if you've got a little bit more flexibility on this side, maybe your hips can stay close to your booty. The thing that you want to work into is pressing into that left shoulder and opening up towards the right side. So kind of push the top of your shoulder into the floor and let your eye gaze move up and under that right armpit. So it's a little bit of a twist, but a nice big back stretch. And go ahead and unravel, unwind. We're going to come forward all the way down to our bellies, and we're going to work into a couple of cobra poses. Okay, so cobra, we're going to review this. Pretend you have a strawberry underneath of your belly button, and the goal is to not squish your strawberry into strawberry jam. So you want to think about your pubic bone, that little bony part of your pelvis, pressing down into the ground. What happens when you do that is your tailbone will lengthen towards your heels. You're going to turn on your legs by bringing the inside of your thighs together and lifting your kneecaps up off the mat. Okay, so the bottom half of the body is engaged. All those muscles are firing. Hands are walking in underneath of your elbows and in close. Remember, in Cobra, we are not pushing into the hands and lifting up. Okay, we're going to keep the chest relatively close to the ground. Float your hands 1 inch off the mat and squeeze your shoulder blades together as you drive your chest forward. Big breath in, big breath out. 2 more. Keep working the tops of your toenails into the floor. 1 more breath. Lower your head down. Let your hands come down by the sides of your body. You're going to separate your legs, bend your knees, lift your feet off the floor, and then just kind of swish the legs left and right. Both feet go the same direction. Take windshield wiper blades on your car when it's raining. Find a little bit of stillness. Extend your legs back to the mat as you drop your feet on the floor and walk your inner thighs back together. Okay, so we're going to learn another pose. It's called upper locust or Shalabhasana. Ardha Shalabhasana means half locust pose, right? So from here, very similar to what you just did. Tops of the feet come down onto the ground, so you're not curling your toes under. You have the top feet flat. Your hands, however, are going to come down by the sides of your body. It's going to look very much like cobra pose, but there's a couple things that are different. So let your forehead or your chin come back to the mat. If your hands are not down by your sides yet, then go ahead and reach down. The palms should be flat. You're going to reach your hands away from your upper body, and notice when you start reaching that your shoulders come up away from the floor. So if you come back down for just a moment and then curl your hands away, your shoulder blades together, then the front of your chest should start to automatically lift up. All right, fire up the legs. Press your pubic bone down. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Make your feet long. Press that pubic bone down. Did your strawberry become jam? Once you are here, you can float the arms and just reach back. We'll take 2 more breaths. Keep the belly on. Think about chest coming forward, and then as you exhale, you're going to flip your palms up and turn your cheek to the right side. Let your legs relax. We'll just stay here for 1 or 2 breaths. We're going to go full Shalabhasana next, which means the legs will lift with the upper body. So on your next inhalation, chin to the center of the mat, palms rotate back down to the floor. Bring your feet back together if you separated your legs. And just take a moment to fire up your quads. Like feel what it feels like to be chill and relaxed, and then feel what it feels like to be working. Chin or forehead is on the mat. We're going to just take a nice big breath in, press the pelvis down. And then on your next inward breath, you're going to lift your upper body, arms too, and then you're going to lift your feet. Now, if you can see me clearly, I'm not high, okay? It's not here, it's long. So your feet reach to the back of your mat, your chest reaches to the top of the mat, and the arms are just here. Take 2 more breaths. On the next out breath, palms flip up, cheek rests down, separate your feet a little bit, just rest. So when we do cobra pose and you lift your feet off the floor and your upper body, it's a different pose entirely. It might not look all that different, but we don't really go there that often. So we want to make sure that we're listening and doing the right poses at the right time. Walk your hands up under your shoulders, curl your toes under, chin back to the center of the mat, straighten your arms, high plank pose, into your downward facing dog. I'm going to walk my feet in just slightly closer towards my body, but I still can come from plank into down dog safely. Stretch into those hamstrings. We did a lot of that yesterday. You should feel good. And then look forward. You're going to tippy toe your feet all the way to the top of the mat. As you arrive, big toes come together, heels apart. Take your half lift and then fold back down across your thighs. All right, go ahead and inhale. Rise all the way up to stand. Arms sweep up overhead. Hands will come to prayer and we'll pause. Okay, so from here, we're going to move into some standing back bending. We're not going to go totally crazy with that work today, but we're just going to really come at it from our lunge and warrior positions. So hands to the hips. You're going to lift your left knee into the chest and start to extend that leg back until you can stand into your lunge position. So for today, we're going to keep that back leg powered up nice and strong. Hips are going to come forward and you'll push your right knee and shin to the top of the mat. Arms are going to reach behind you into a little basket. You might want to have your strap here or something that could act as a strap if your chest is really tight. We're going to come into a humble warrior variation. So your back heel is lifted in lunge. You're going to draw your shoulders down, lift your chest up, and then you're going to forward fold. Your right shoulder comes towards the right knee. Shift a little bit into that front shin, front foot. And then what you want to do with your arms is up to you. You want to keep them low, that's fine. If you want to lift, you can. No strap, works too. So humble warrior, head is towards the floor. One more breath. Use the strength of your arms. Pull yourself up and then lift your chin and your chest. Here's your back bend. Lift your ribs. Tilt that heart upwards. And then you're going to let the hands go. Spin the back heel down. Warrior 2. Do you have heel to arch alignment? Probably not. So bring that right foot into the center of the left arch. Good. One more breath. Straighten the right leg. Turn the toes to the other direction. Okay, we're going to come back into our high lunge. Hands will come back behind you, creating a little basket. You can grab your strap if you need it. Draw the knuckles down, check in. Do you need to separate your feet a little wider? Draw your belly up. Big breath, and then hinge forward. Left shoulder towards left knee or thigh. Shoulder blades come together as the arms reach up and away from the floor. You keep your hands low. Your left toes or your left foot, is it embracing the majority of your body weight? We'll take one more breath in. Exhale completely, then use the strength of your arms to pull you up and away from your thigh, and then tilt the chin, look up. Do not push your hip forward. You're lifting your ribs away from your hips and tilting your chin to the sky. That's it. One more big breath in. And then go ahead and open up warrior two. Fix your feet. And then just settle in. Eye gaze drifts over that left middle finger in warrior two. That is where your drishti lives. Drishti just being one point of focus to help you stay balanced. Beautiful work. Go ahead and straighten that front leg. Tick-tock the toes forward. Hands will return back to the basket behind you. Knuckles down, chest up. Big breath in, and we'll come halfway down. So if I wanted to make your back a nice tabletop position, I could do it from here. And you got to shift a little forward into the balls of both feet so that you're getting a beautiful hamstring stretch. We'll do one more standing pose. This is one we learned last week. So bend your knees. Again, use your arms, lift yourself up. We're going to go to pyramid, hands to the hips. Let's turn everything to the right. So just to review, in your pyramid, both feet face forward, same direction. You will listen. After watching you guys last week, you've got to make sure your feet are wide enough apart to make space for your hips. So if you can't get your left hip to face the same direction as your right, what do you need to do to make that happen in your body? So for me, it means lifting my heel and turning. I can't get my foot flat on the ground, so I'm going to have to walk it in a little bit until it does. I'm going to scooch over so you guys can see my other foot. Okay, so for me, a little bit wide. There's a nice little alleyway between both of my legs here, but all 10 toes face forward. Both heels are down. We are going to come to reverse prayer. So internally rotate your shoulders. And you're going to come forward and then reach back. Do you need to just kind of grab forearms? Can you come into that reverse prayer? Whatever you can do is fine. You're going to drag your right hip back to pull the left one forward. Open that heart. And then exhale, fold. As we come over that right thigh, I'd like you to press into the left heel and drag that right hip back a touch. Let the top of your head be a little bit heavy. And start to lower your nose towards your shin. Keeping the belly strong will protect the lower back. One more. You're only coming up halfway as you inhale. Keep your hands where they are. I know it sucks, but you gotta do it. Lift all the way up. You're gonna shift into the right foot, making your left foot light like a little kickstand, and then bend your right knee, step the left foot up to meet the right. You're gonna keep your arms where they are. Slide your right foot to the back. Separate your feet a little wider if you need to. Right heel down, left hip back. Big breath up, and then forward. So when we come down over the front leg, it's easy, tempting, and without thinking about it, we tend to shift into the front leg more than the back. So by pressing energetically into your back heel, that helps level and neutralize. I know your arms and shoulders are getting tired, but when we come out of this, it'll feel good, I promise. Inhale up halfway. All the way, keep the hands where they are. Right heel becomes light, and then we'll step in. Go ahead and release those arms. Little swing, little wrap. You can kind of alternate which arm goes on top. Okay. Go ahead and just take one leg down behind the other. We'll take a little seat here. And for today, you're just going to roll back all the way onto your side. Okay. So as you come down, a couple of options. If you need and you want a little bit more of a lengthening so that your back might feel a little bit better, return back to this restorative bridge pose. Make sure your block goes on the sacrum, not the tailbone. And you can just continue to stay here. Take your Shavasana from this state. Depending on what you have showing up in your body today will determine where you go for your final resting position. If this is not feeling good for you, then just flat, corpse pose, traditional variation. So once you're settled into your space, take a nice big breath in, full breath out. 2 more. Last one here. And as you let this one go, let your body become heavier. Let your face relax. No tension in the jaw. No squeezing of the eyelids. If I were to step past you right now, I should not be able to figure out what you are thinking or what kind of mood you are in. You are completely expressionless and totally relaxed. Stay right where you are and just breathe. I want to talk a little bit more about ahimsa, so kind of reviewing back into our yamas, the 5 ethical parts of the first limb in yoga. I'm going to read out of this little book that's called Meditations from the Mat. It's actually a really, really helpful one. Find my spot. So as you rest here, think back to last week, or actually I guess 2 weeks ago when we started to talk about the limbs to yoga and what ahimsa stands for, non-violence or do no harm, which I think is a little easier to digest. So when we first come into our yoga practice, we have probably no idea that there's more to yoga than just the movement of our body. But now you're starting to understand that there are several other things that align with the yoga world that make yoga special. The first yama, ahimsa or non-harming, asks us to embrace non-violence at the level of speech, thought, and action. It is a profound and radical concept that is truly the cornerstone of yoga as a way of life. The practice of ahimsa could not be further from the training this young man received as a soldier. Everything in the world in which he grew up validated competition, struggle, the annihilation of one's enemies. He was also a wrestler. His favorite activity was to go away to another school and vanquish some hometown favorite in front of his disheartened fans. Over time, this person ended up coming into the yoga world. And what changed for him was that he survived long enough to begin to develop his own ideas of right and wrong. As a young person, we embrace the values of those around us as our own. And here at Gerstell Academy, we encourage you to come up with your own beliefs and understandings. With time and life experience, though, this person, as well as myself, began to develop our own understanding. What we've kept from the childhood and young adulthood is the concept of service. We have discarded the idea that there are good people and bad people, people who should be helped and people who should not be helped. The separation between you and me must disappear in order to practice true ahimsa. Meaning we are all connected, we are all one. If you have a block underneath of your sacrum, take a moment to push into your heels, elevate the hips, and remove that block from underneath. Let the body return back to the mat, and then lengthen your legs out straight. Now that we're all flat with your hands behind us, take your hands, make a basket with your hands, and as you breathe in, flip your palms inside out. So the palms of your hands are now facing the top of your mat. Your toes are pointed away, and we'll do a little stretch here. So arch that lower back nice and big. And then as you exhale, bring your knees into the chest one at a time without first using your arms. Once they're in as close as they can, then bring your arms to the party and tuck your nose. Hands will go behind your thighs. You'll rock a couple of times so you can come to sitting. Sukhasana, easy seat, or crisscross applesauce. Close your eyes if you had to reopen them. And then draw your hands to prayer. We will end the class in the usual way, but I just want to remind you to be kind, not just to others, but to yourself. Our kindness begins with the way we talk to ourselves as we start to become more comfortable with being easier on our failures and looking at them instead as stepping stones to our goals. Go ahead and bow your forehead to your fingertips. Love, light, and joy, my friends, as we say, namaste. All right, everybody, this is day 2. So we will rejoin back together tomorrow for our third practice. We're going to get a little bit into some twists, which should feel really good in your body. I will see you then. All right. Yes.